All right, and we are back with Epic Land, day number 2. As always, I am Red Dane, and I'm joined once again by my friend here, Frogs. How you doing, Frogs?
I'm okay. How about you? I'm pretty happy that I managed to get into Code Fs.
Yeah, you made it into the top bracket, and
I had to pull out a bunch of upsets to get that to happen. I managed to get third in my group.
it was quite a convincing performance, I have to say. It was really, really impressive.
Thank you,
and
thank you.
no matter what happens today in Code S, I think you can be really happy with how everything went. But really glad you're joining me because we've got a PVZ to start us off with. So we'll be jumping into a game actually really quickly now. So we're going to get into the game here with RosscO and Savage to start us off. It should be a pretty good game.
I think so too. They're both very high-level players. Are they about the same MMR?
I think they're a little bit disparate in terms of MMR.
Okay.
I think definitely RosscO is going to be favored here. We saw some pretty interesting upsets yesterday, actually. I think this is the tournament with the most upsets I've ever seen for various reasons. But RosscO upset Zane. You upset quite a few people as well. And so the seeding, we were seeding the bracket earlier, and it was interesting to see how messed up the seeding was compared to how the actual results were.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it became really obvious that everything was jumbled around, which is as exciting as it can get. But yeah, we are jumping into the game right now. And this is a game, we actually just played a game, PVZ, didn't we? And did we play? We played on this map as well, didn't we?
We did, yeah. So you were trying out the new hero style.
Yeah, and it's really made the PVZ games a lot more dynamic, I think. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the meta?
Protoss, it's very difficult. I don't know. As a Zerg, I'm still not quite sure what to do against it, waiting for someone to come up with a good answer and then try and copy that.
Yeah, that sounds like the way. But anyway, we are into game number 1 here between RosscO and Savage. In the bottom left-hand corner, our player playing for Red Dragons, he is Savage.
And in the top right, the Protoss player also playing for Red Dragons, RosscO.
You know what? Until now, I didn't even realize that these two were teammates. So there's probably quite a bit of history between these two. So yeah, RosscO just going to be putting his pylon on the low ground as normal, and he has opted to go for a very early scout, and this is going to be rallied to the natural to make sure that he is blocking. So he is going to try and delay the expansion of Savage. I think my personal opinion on this, I don't know what you think about this sort of move, but I think this is just always good to do.
I think so too. And I noticed you started doing this as well. I don't think you used to, right?
I used to do it whenever I was doing a Glaive Adept build. I know there is a little bit of a meta in terms of do you do it every game, and then if you do it every game, then they can just start doing an earlier hatch, and then it becomes pointless. So maybe I'm wrong that you shouldn't do it every single game, but generally I think at relatively low under GM, I think it's pretty much it just guarantees that they're going to have to take this.
I think the only weakness is that it becomes a lot more difficult to spot the Lings coming out from the third, so they can dodge the probe much more easily if you force them to take a third.
Yeah, so hypothetically, yeah, if they were to just rally some Lings from there, that could be kind of annoying.
Makes it a bit more risky to send out the Adept to go and scout.
Yeah, I do.
But I think the gains are definitely worth the.
Yeah, the lost economy, and then sometimes if they're really sloppy, you can catch drones transferring either with Adepts or Oracles or whatever, so it can be a little bit frustrating. But yeah, so Savage, nice little Overlord placement here to make sure he's not getting Cannon Rush. Although the last time, I can't remember the last time I've seen a Cannon Rush in a macro game. It's been a while. I mean, I was watching Saded stream, so that was every other game.
Yeah.
But
I feel like Cannon Rushing the third is probably something you'd hate more. I think if you ended up having to take the third as your nat.
Yeah, like if you were to block this.
Yeah, because if the Cannon Rushes are the natural, well, it's a situation where it's like if you'd snuck out the drone against a normal Cannon Rush and got your third, except you got your third much earlier.
Yeah, and that would be pretty devastating. Yeah. Nice little bit of probe harass here. Savage only has the one drone here, so he's not going to be able to do much.
It's pretty annoying. Yeah.
And he opts
losing 7 minerals.
Just go for it. Now it's 2 versus 1 in the Battle Dome here, and this probe is going to have to go away.
Yeah.
But it's really nice for RosscO because he's spotted those drones being made. So he saw actually 3 drones. And now he's just going to send the probe back. I think he's pretty confident at this point that all the larvae is being spent on drones. And there's actually only a single pair of Lings from Savage that's been revealed so far. And this Overlord in a really sort of aggressive stance here is going to be chased away once this Stalker is out. But we have yet to see Savage scout the tech, and it is going to be a Twilight with a Robo. This Adept trying to come in and do a little bit of damage, but nice little drone trick there to stop losing.
Oh, yeah. Didn't lose any drone. That's pretty good.
Yeah, so far so good from Savage. And I'm interested to see what build we go for here. So I think it's pretty clear that it's going to be an Adept build. Yeah, so
with the two on gas.
Yeah, 2 on each gas, and then he's going to be adding the extras. But as far as I know, Savage won't know 100% that this is what's happening. The only giveaway that he'll have so far that it's not a Stargate is the fact that he's gone for he's gone for the block, which is, you know, sometimes an indicator. He's gone for the Stalker to shoo him away because that means he's not going to Void Ray. And then also he would have seen the delayed Warp Gate because he wouldn't have seen the delayed Warp Gate. He would have gotten the straightaway Warp Gate.
He had the Overlord right on top of it.
But he won't know he won't know 100%, and he won't know that this is the Glaive version, not a DT drop.
Well, the Ling will spot the Warp Prism coming out. It's a very nice patrol path he's got there.
Yeah, and he won't spot 4 Adepts shading out, which means well, I mean, he should spot 4 Adepts shading out, which means he should know.
Yeah. So he'll have plenty of time to prepare for this, I think. The Roach Warren is nice and early. So I think he knows there's a potential for it to be a Twilight opener.
Yeah, and I think Savage is not underreacting here, right? He's on 39 drones, going up to 40, and he's going to stay around this drone count, I think.
Okay, so he got the Spore, so I guess just in case it's a potential DT follow-up, get the Spore nice and early. He's getting 3 Spores. Okay, this is quite an investment.
Yeah, I think he
wants to be safe,
He's got a misread thinking that it could be DT, so he just wants to be extra careful. But that is going to mean that he's on a fewer drones than he'd want, which is going to make things a little bit easier for RosscO. So RosscO is actually going to take a fight versus these queens, and one of these queens might go down straight away, which is going to be a nice little win. But with the Shade canceling, he is just going to continue to fight.
Oh, wow. And then, but Overstayed is welcome a little bit, I think.
Yeah, so it's going to be a nice little pick off there from Savage to be able to get a few of those Adepts.
Though 2 Adepts for 2 queens is not great for the Zerg.
Yeah, it's not a great trade so far, but the Adepts are going to try and shade in and do a little bit more. Looks like they are going to be deflected in the end. So far,
Lair coming down.
No workers actually killed just yet with this attack. It's all just been Lings, and the Roach count is growing for Savage, and he's having to remake those queens, which is a bit annoying.
Looks like both of them are transitioning. RosscO is put down his 3rd, is probing up again. And,
but this is where the damage starts to get done. Maybe a little bit of a delayed reaction there from Savage with these Roaches, and at this point, RosscO has enough Adepts that he can just fight the Roaches straight up. So this is kind of devastating for Savage. He doesn't have enough, and he is actually starting to bleed out. Every unit that spawns at this base is going to be picked off by these until the Roaches get there. And now it's just mainly Lings on this, and you never want to be fighting Adepts with mainly Lings. There's only 3 Roaches here.
And is that a War Prism in the main there? Yep.
Yeah, picks up with a little bit of a cheeky 4 Adepts, but this Warp Prism makes it out with its life, but only just barely. 10 HP left.
Looks like the follow-up is going to be Blink with a Forge.
Yeah, and he does have his 3rd at a pretty nice timing. He's got Immortals coming out, so he's going to be safe against any kind of Roach push.
And and a Spire from Savage. So this is a very common follow-up against this kind of Twilight opener, I think.
Yeah, knowing that your opponent's not going to have a Stargate, knowing that he's not going to go Phoenix. If you get a critical mass of mutas, it can be really frustrating to deal with. I think with a relatively low eco game, I'm not too upset, to be honest, as a Protoss playing against mutas. It's only when the mutas get to like over 10 that it starts to get really scary. But I think with a battery and like, you know, 4 or 5 Blink Stalkers, you can reasonably fight against them. But you are on that clock, right? Because the more that those go up, the harder it gets. But yeah, this is really frustrating for Savage. He just keeps getting a lot of damage done here at the 3rd base.
Yeah, just can't get more than 2 base economy at the moment. It's being very difficult. The fourth has been very, very delayed as well.
Yeah,
it's
and
not looking very good for Savage.
He's got a 3rd base against a 3-base Protoss, so obviously not the position you want to be in. These Adepts are probably actually just going to finish their Shade. Might be a little bit of a mistake, but actually with the control for RosscO here, he's going to be able to not lose all of the Adepts, but the Shade finish pretty much right on top of the Roaches, which is probably the best case scenario for Savage.
Yeah, just 4 left. Oh, there's a Wandering Immortal. This is quite a big donation.
Yeah, there's a bit of chaos here, and the Immortal is actually going to fight only Roaches, so he's going to get 1 or 2, but in the end, he needs to keep those Immortals to make sure that he doesn't die to any kind of counterattack. But the thing is, I don't see Savage's Roach count growing all that large because the trades haven't been that great.
Yeah, he just wants to...
And like we're at 8 minutes in the game, and these Adepts are still doing damage. I mean, there's been 14 workers killed at this point. Savage just has not been able to stabilize and get to the drone count he wants. I like this from RosscO. He just continues to keep making those Adepts to keep the chaos happening, and he feels relatively safe, given that he's seen
I don't think
Roach count.
He was adding on Adepts, right? Well, I mean, I guess he added around, but Yeah, I think he's just kept them alive and managed to be really annoying with them.
Yeah, and he's finally traded them out, and he's done what he needs to do. He's killed lots of queens.
Exactly.
He's killed 88 units so far in this game. So the amount of lings and drones and roaches that he's killed, and queens even, like, he's definitely done more than he needs to do with this. And now we see as we stabilize going into the mid game here, we've got a 3-base Protoss. He's got +1 finishing. He's got charge finishing, and he's going to move out with pretty much everything he needs. Whereas on the other end of the map, we've got, what, 4 Ravagers morphing in. This is not looking good for Savage.
And that spy attack is completely wasted attack at this point because Savage needs to hold on for his life. Mutas are not what you want for that.
Yeah, he's going to just be making as many roaches and ravagers as possible. I don't think that this 4th base is long for this world, and so we're going to keep the tempo plays from RosscO, making sure that he does not allow the Zerg to get anything.
Oh, the aggressive blink.
Yeah, when you get aggressively blinked on like that as a Zerg, you know that you are in dire straits. A little bit of Warp Prism micro as well, but if he manages to connect with these bios, that was pretty dangerous. The Warp Prism is very low.
Oh, nice pickup.
I think for now, RosscO's probably going to go home and be happy with what he's got. He might decide to do another warp in and go in again, but canceling the 4th base, he knows that he's stabilizing on 3 bases. He hasn't taken the gases at his 3rd just yet, so he's not looking to go into the super late stages. I think he realizes that if he just keeps making Blink Stalkers, he can probably eke out a win here.
Oh, there's a Dark Shrine about to finish, so what do you think of that?
Yeah, so it's just going to be more chaos for Savage.
I guess he knows he killed the Spore.
Yeah, he's got no spores in any of his bases at this point. I'm not sure if the Adepts killed all of them. I thought he made quite a few. Maybe he canceled them. But
the Adepts definitely killed one at the 3rd. I'm not sure about the other ones, but yeah, I mean they're not there anymore, so I guess something must have killed them.
So ultimately, yeah, he's going to have no detection. I don't even think he has an Overseer out on the map. So if DTs get warped in and sort of sent to every base, I think that we might just see GG called at that point. It's just going to be too much chaos. He's not going to be able to deal with the army or the DTs. But the Zerg is going to try and get a little bit of a push here up onto the Protoss army. The Protoss army not that big. As long as the Zerg army is able to close in on it, he might be able to get a decent trade. But I think this is just posturing from Savage because he knows that if he were to push into the 4th base, he would lose it. So he needs to make sure he doesn't give up this position. Ravagers are morphing in, desperately trying to bile down the Protoss army. Not the best connection so far. The force fields are going to segment this Zerg army, but there's just so much Protoss here, and the upgrades are good. The force fields are going to be allowing him to get a little bit more position here. Now the Protoss is between the 2 bases. There's not a lot of Zerg here, but the Protoss army itself is dwindling as well. But there's only 4 or 5 Ravagers left for the Zerg, and with one more round of Warpins, this is going to be really dangerous.
Those Ravagers are very squishy without support.
And the DT's going in now as well with no Overseer. This is going to be, I think, the end of this game very shortly. But as we say that, the Protoss army is actually dying. There's only 2 Immortals left with a handful of Stalkers. But yeah, no, it is going to be GG, and Game 1 is going to go to RosscO.
Yeah, that was a very convincing win there. The Adept opener really did what he needed to do.
Yeah, you can kind of see the difference in levels of the 2 players, right? Like RosscO's going to have done that build at a pretty high level against Zergs who are a lot more comfortable dealing with it, and Savage is just sort of a little bit like he did all the right things, but I think he didn't do them as smoothly or as efficiently as he could. So he had the roaches, but they weren't quite in position to defend the 3rd. And the first wave of Adepts didn't actually kill him. It was the sort of follow-up. It was the continued pressure. Eventually, finally, RosscO was able to find an opening and get the damage done. And once the damage starts getting done, it just snowballs from there. It just becomes a cascade of death. All right, so we'll just wait a second here before we get into game number 2. Surprisingly, it's kind of not the build that I was expecting to see in game 1. Obviously, the Adept build, always a classic. But it's a little bit out of favor right now, I think.
Agreed, yeah, it's a bit off meta. Though he did go Twilight against me. I just all-inned him, so I don't know if he was going for Glaives. But
you do see that, though, right? Even though the meta has shifted, I think a lot of Protosses still feel comfortable doing the sort of off-meta stuff. Because, you expect the Zergs to have been, deliberately preparing anti-builds to that. So if you do something that's a little bit off-meta, a little bit out of the ordinary, and it could just be as simple as that's RosscO's comfort zone. He doesn't like going into the Mascade style.
It could be.
All right, so we are now into Hardwire LE for game 2. This is going to be a best of 3, so if RosscO wins this one, then that will mean he takes this series pretty convincingly, but it'd be nice to see Savage take a game. I'm hoping to see something really cheesy from him this game.
Yes.
All right, just got to tell them we're ready.
RosscO went 7-0 in his group, I think, so if he wins this, he wouldn't have lost yet.
RosscO is definitely playing like an absolute beast today. And yesterday. All right. Here we go. Now, Hardwire Ollie, what are your thoughts on this map as a Zerg player?
I'm not a huge fan of it in DVT, but in this matchup, it's not so bad. There's a nice, close fourth you can take. That it's a bit annoying to defend against tanks, but against what Protoss has, is not such a huge deal. Maybe there's, I don't know, maybe there's something you can do with the Colossus on the low ground, but it's not something I've seen very often.
All right, fair enough. We'll see if anything funky comes out.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right, to start off here, we've got Savage in the bottom left-hand corner.
And in the top right corner, you got RosscO.
Couple of absolute legends here from Red Dragons. We are best of 3, and if I'm remembering correctly, RosscO's 1-0. Once again, we have the early probe coming down to make sure we block this. It's going to be probably a carbon copy of what we saw last time. And Savage, he's not even bothering. You notice he didn't even attempt. He did not even attempt because he saw the probe coming in, so he's just going to take that straight away. This is just, it doesn't feel great, but is what it is. I mean, I would have liked to see Savage just pop down. Is there a reason you wouldn't just send the probe down a bit earlier, or send the drone down a bit earlier?
Yeah, you'd have to cut workers to do so. That's like you end up being larvae blocked as a Zerg, which is
a bit annoying.
Yeah, it was. It really hinders your economy because it has a knock-on effect for the rest of the game.
So that shows why I'm not a Zerg player.
Yeah, it's a quite drastic measure to go for that 15 edge, I think.
And ultimately, path of least resistance, just take it at the third.
Yeah.
It's fine. At this point, this probably is your comfort zone. You've probably done this enough times that it's not a big deal.
I think Zerg players are pretty familiar with both. Doing their build from in both scenarios.
All right, so yeah, pretty normal so far. RosscO going to be annoying with this probe. It's always interesting to see the way that Protosses move this probe in the early stages of the game, because it's quite delicate. You have to see a lot. You have to confirm the Queen is building. You have to confirm that the drones are being made. And one of the nice things about this is by keeping this here, you do see if any drones get transferred. So, there is opportunities, like you said, to be a little bit cheeky, but this is going to be another opportunity for RosscO to continue to be annoying here and show that he's got some good multitasking. And sometimes as a, if there's a player who is a little bit mechanically inferior to you, you can, sort of bully them out with just these little things and cause a little bit of tilt.
What I find really frustrating about this sort of play is that it's exactly the time when you want to be confirming that warp gate on the core. So if you have to deal with microing a drone at home, then you might not catch that the warp gate was delayed or started straight away.
And actually, interesting, RosscO is just gonna sack this.
Yeah, that's
I'm not sure
strange.
what the trigger was. The only thing I've noticed that was different was that there were the standard 4 lings made instead of I think last game Savage just made 1 pair. And so maybe he thought, oh, that's a little bit different from last game. I feel like very confident that I'm not going to die in a macro game even if I lose this probe, so I'm just gonna sack it. So we see some really aggressive scouting patterns. This adept going in to confirm the drone count, but I think if you see this many drones, you're very confident that there's no cheese coming for the immediate future. So that's going to trigger, I think, RosscO to just go into his normal build. And once again, just getting the glaives straight away, pulling the workers out, and it's going to be pretty much a mirror of the last game.
I think so too. Let's see if we'll see any adjustments from Savage to try and deal with that a bit better.
Yeah, I don't love that Savage is going for the standard macro game at this point. I would love to see him just have done something early, but I think at this point he's locked in. There's no way this game that I can think of can go other than you need to go to 40 workers, make a bunch of roaches, and hope for and hang on for dear life, and then all in roaches or something else. The only thing I would like to see different from Savage is like once he knows that this is going to be an adept build, that can maybe make a spine at the third base.
Yes, yeah, instead of the spore. Yeah. I'm also quite concerned that he's only just resaturated his gas on his main, so maybe that's fine. Maybe that's fine. He still has 150 gas. He can make a decent number of roaches when that roach farm finishes.
Yeah, he has maybe 20 seconds before these adepts are actually shading in.
Spore, 3 spores again, no spine.
Yeah, so
no changes so far.
Yeah, I think this is really crucial here that he hasn't confirmed that it's not DT, so he has to make these spores, and then he might either cancel these or whatever.
Yeah, he saw the adepts coming out, right?
A spine here would just be so much more helpful.
Yeah. I think he saw the adepts shade out.
Yeah, so he does know.
He should have known.
He does know now, but I think at this point he might just be focusing on making as many units as possible and leaving
not
it
quite
be.
enough lings here.
Yeah, this
on
is
that ramp.
this
That's a
is
very good position.
already a disaster, much
This is
worse than game one.
definitely.
The queens aren't even going to be able to get a position on this, and now RosscO is just going to be getting right into this mineral line with the whole position micro, making sure he gets all the lings. And as he takes these good trades, even if you're not killing drones, if you're getting good trades against the Zerglings, you know that you're going to just snowball in the end. So far, really, really nice. The units lost tab really favoring 24 lings going down to only 3 adept, or really 2 adepts, I think, at this point. Nice little multitask there with RosscO splitting a couple in the main, a couple at the third. There are roaches here in both bases. This is actually kind of nice from RosscO. Although he's gone down, he's lost quite a few workers at this point. I don't know if
none
it's
of
enough.
these mineral lines are on them. Oh, okay, the main is still mining, but
He at least does have a little bit of a better split now, but actually the roaches at the third have gone down, and now the adepts are going to finish in at the natural, dying to some of these queens, but so many workers have gone down.
And RosscO has already started his transition.
Yeah,
he's making immortals, making more workers, got his third. Got
Yeah.
that War Prism ready to drop in the main if he needs to. Yeah, this is looking very good for RosscO.
Yeah, this is much better than I think even in game one. 17 workers going down just from the initial couple of waves. And RosscO, I think, realizing that he doesn't really need to do much else. He's going to keep this Warp Prism in an annoying posture, just floating around, which, I mean, Savage will scout with this Overlord, but that's going to mean that he cannot just send all his units across the map. He's going to have to maintain at least 4 or 5 roaches in the main. He's going to need to potentially do even more because he does not want a warp-in of Adepts to come in and do even more damage here. So nice so far. He is going to be able to surround these. I think there's no way that RosscO won't lose these. A little bit sloppy there to not pull these back. He might have been looking away at that particular moment. So looks like Savage is going to stabilize for the time being. But actually, as I say that, 2 Adepts going into the natural, getting even more kills, 21 workers going down.
And it looks like the Shade is going to finish in the main again.
Yeah, 32 workers against a 3-base Protoss.
Okay, so this isn't going to kill any drones.
Yeah, this is it's finally going to be cleaned up, right? Absolutely finally.
We're going across the map, but desperation, I think.
You can kind of see, like, you know, we and Savage were thinking together, like, oh, okay, it's over. Like, okay, we're fine. We can stabilize. And then that's when, you know, you let your guard down for that 2 seconds. Savage is going to send absolutely everything across the map, but looking at what RosscO's got, yeah, he's not in the best position, but he'd probably want to hold a choke against this. But there just isn't enough Zerg to really make a dent in this army, right? With the battery overcharge, a second battery coming down at the third, and RosscO going to be taking a little bit more. Yeah, so he's got a little bit more
immortals. We got 3 immortals.
More aggressive posture. Yeah, there's just no way. So I think we're going to see Savage try to send absolutely everything he can at this. He's going to make a few Ravagers, but again, 32 drone economy. The army just isn't as big as you would want it to be. Yeah. I like this from Savage, just going to try and see if there's an opening in with these smaller group of Zerglings, but with the Immortal there at the natural, he knows he's got more than enough. Nice posturing from RosscO to make sure that he's not going to get completely surrounded. Savage is going to consolidate his army, bring absolutely everything, hope that he can get the surround of his life with some really key biles away from a shield battery. There is a universe where this army trades decently against the Protoss army, but I don't think we are living in it.
And I think we see a slight deviation from the previous game from RosscO as well. He knows he's done way more damage this time, doesn't need to do a follow-up push, so he's just taking his gases, getting out Archons. He knows there's probably something big coming.
Yeah, Blink is finishing.
Pumping out those Immortals will defend. I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty easy defense for RosscO.
Yeah, so he's going to have the Lings come in. They do get a little bit blocked, unfortunately, behind the army. The Force Fields are going to segment off a few of these. A couple of Zerg units going down before the fight even starts. Nice so far from RosscO. He is fighting away from a battery, but I don't know if it's going to matter. The Lings do get on these Immortals. That's going to be a nice advantage for Savage, but so far the Protoss army hasn't lost any of its key units, and even more Zerg units are going to go down. It's going to be a GG from Savage and a 2-0.
RosscO on fire. That was very convincing.
Yeah, I mean, we see that he's very comfortable just doing the Adept build. He knows his transitions. He knows, you know, it was really nice of him in the second game to get a read on the fact that he's done way more damage than he needs to do. He doesn't need to do a follow-up push. He's just going to consolidate, make sure he doesn't die. RosscO read Savage like a book in that game. Something tells me that's not the first time that they've played a game similar to that.
Yeah, could be. I mean, I think that's a very good build to pull out if you're playing with an MMR advantage. I think there's a lot of leeway there for lots of micro that you can just out-micro your opponent and just outplay them.
Yeah, and RosscO's probably thinking at this point, I don't really want to show my real PvZ I don't think that that's RosscO's real PvZ. I think that he's probably got other builds that he'll use when he plays against Figaro.
Yeah.
We might see that build once or twice. I doubt that he would do that build twice in a row against Figaro.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Figaro would probably slap that down a lot more easily. So he's just gonna do a build that he knows is safe. He knows he can consistently win with it. And he showed us that convincingly. So
yeah, I think so.
fair play to RosscO.
Yep.
We're gonna go to a quick break, guys, and we will be back fairly soon with Zane versus Cray. Don't go anywhere.